Thank you for joining us for the Southern Nightmares reading series. This is a monthly online event presented by the Atlanta Chapter of the Horror Writers Association. We'll be spotlighting both, this month, we're spotlighting Atlanta Horror Writer Association members. The had a couple of technical snafus. One of our guests tonight, Edie Knight, said that she could not make it. She's digging a hole in her backyard and filling it full of concrete. I'm sure everything is fine. One of the things that we like to do is point out other awesome reading events that are going on around our community. Make sure to check out Story Hour every Wednesday evening, hosted by Laura Blackwell. There's some truly fantastic stuff there. And Daniel Braum is also going to be hosting a summer reading series coming up very soon. We'll try and share links over in the Facebook page. I'm Alex Hopefully, your host for this event. I wanted to thank Christi Nogle for hosting the last reading series, and I hope she'll be back soon again. I've been really happy to have her doing some of these for us, and really enjoy having some additional voices in there. And then, as always, big thanks to Kitty Sarkozy and Jessica Ann York for making this stuff happen on the back end. So our first reader tonight is Nate McCullough. So Nathan is a veteran journalist, editor, and writer who has worked in the Atlanta area for more than 20 years. As a newspaper columnist, he is the winner of both the Georgia Press Association's Joe Parham Trophy for Humor and the Otis A. Brumby Trophy. His first fiction story appeared in the mini anthology from Alban Lake Publishing in 2019, and his novella short story collection, Drag You Down, debuted in 2020. He also serves on the staff of Ginger Nuts of Horror, and he's a graduate of the University of Georgia and lives in Stone Mountain. So, Nate, I know you had a couple of things prepared for us tonight. What sort of things do you have on the agenda for us?
Well, I've got two really short stories that I'm going to read. One of them is pretty heavy subject matter, and the other one is very light. It is, in fact, that first story that you mentioned that I had published. So I thought after I depressed everyone, I would lighten the mood back up a little bit.
All right.
This first story I wrote for a contest for Gray Matter Press. John F.D. Taft, Josh Mailerman, and some other guys put together a collection of novellas a few years ago called I Can Taste the Blood. And Tony at Gray Matter had people enter some stories to try. He was gonna add the story to the ebook, and I didn't win, but it was very popular. So this is that one. And I don't really believe too much in trigger warnings, especially in horror, but I will warn people that this story is about suicide, and I know that is a tough subject matter for some people. So just putting that out there. This is called I Can If I Want. It's late, and I've been walking a long time. The bathroom in this rest area is a good place as any. Of course, I'd like someplace pretty, serene, a nice hilltop maybe, but it's cool in here, and the humming of the lights is soothing. It'll do. I look in the mirror and I see want, emptiness, a life erased. Mom's gone, cancer. Dad went away before her of his own accord. Then Eric. We need to talk turned into you need help and I can't give it to you. I called in sick too much after that, and my boss told me not to bother coming back. Then the landlord came to evict me, but he called the cops when he saw inside all the trash, all the cats. I left in handcuffs, animal cruelty. I told the cops I loved those cats, and I cried. Eric bailed me out, but he wouldn't let me stay with him. He paid for a hotel for a week, gave me $100, and drove away. I never slept in the hotel. I walked to my former home instead. It was covered in orange warning signs from the health department. I went to the window and peered inside. Furniture, clothes, my books, gone. My cats too, of course. Empty, like I'd never lived there. I guess in a way I hadn't. I left. I walked for hours. And then I found the razor blade on the side of the road. It's one of those from a box cutter. Probably fell out of some guy's work truck. And then I walked in here. I put my back against the wall and I slide down to the floor. The sweatpants I'm wearing are thin and the tile is cool on my backside. I look at the blade, admiring it, and then I place it against my skin. I know how to do this. Before Dad left, he worked at a prison. He'd seen his share of inmates who'd checked out early with a smuggled razor or a spoon handle honed on the concrete. Crossways is just for getting attention, he'd say. The serious ones know to go straight up, wrist to elbow, slice it all the way where it can't be fixed. But I think this will fix everything. I press the corner of the blade into my wrist and I smile because this belongs to me. This act is mine and I am this one time in control. Not even God can stop me. He might judge me afterward, but right now I'm driving. I go fast because I know slow would mean pain and pain would mean hesitation. I do it just like Daddy said, wrist to elbow, deep. It hurts, but the pain can't overcome the euphoria. I am filled with an ecstasy I didn't know existed, with the realization that my life is mine to do with as I please. With my next heartbeat, the blood arcs up, showering the sink and leaving a pretty red flower on the mirror. Then it just pours out of my arm, a torrent that can't be stopped, and I wonder if Daddy would be proud. Blood pools beside me. I dip 2 fingers in it and swirl them around. I bring them to my nose and sniff. It's a gamey odor, and I wonder what it tastes like. I touch it to my lips, but I don't lick them. I can taste it if I want. Why not? It's mine. I can. I decide not to, and once again, I'm lost in the paradise of choice. Instead, I re-dip and turn to the wall. Goodbye? A curse? Some furious epithet? I briefly think of drawing a heart just to confuse whatever poor soul stumbles upon me. Whatever I choose, I must choose quickly. I decide I like the sound of I can. So that's what I write. I can. Then above that, I write the word because. I slump over until my face touches the floor. The blood pool is just at my mouth. I'm so cold. The warm blood kisses my lips. This time, I licked him. 2 things about that story that were really challenging, or actually 3 things. One, the subject matter. I have unfortunately known people who have chosen suicide, and a lot of people often wonder why people make that decision. A lot of times it's out of desperation. I've known somebody who did it to escape physical pain, and I wanted to write one from the point of view of somebody who had never felt in control of anything, and this was their way of taking control of something. The other 2 challenges were, I wrote that from the point of view of a woman. I'm really trying as I get older to learn how to write women better and not be that guy who winds up on Twitter, everybody making fun of him because he doesn't understand how to write women. And finally, the word limit. It was a tight 700 words and you couldn't go over. And it was, writing sentences short and punchy or just single words to describe things, getting my best Hemingway out. And so I was real happy with it. And like I said, it was popular. It did not win, but it was popular on the website.
On the control is something that really comes through with that one. And you did a whole bunch in a nice compact space. The being able to exert control and that lack of it really came through nicely. Flash is a very interesting and challenging format, and trying to do something that compact and tell a full cohesive story is a nice tough challenge. So I'm well. I feel obligated to throw out there that everybody out here who's writing and watching this, and particularly all of us in the Atlanta chapter. So Pseudopod is going to be running a flash fiction contest in October. The submissions are going to be in August. The voting starts in late September, early October. So you've shown that you can do that. I would encourage you to submit to that and get something in.
Okay. Well, you know, that's one of my dream markets is pseudopods, so I'll definitely be giving that a consideration.
Yeah, there's some good folks there. Yeah, like Kitty. So we'll get to her in just a minute. So do you want to? Well, actually, I had another thing that I wanted to talk to you about with this one. So are you a cat person? Yeah.
I am deathly allergic to cats. I can't be around them. I like them, but I can't be in the same room with one.
Yeah, but their dander doesn't like you.
No.
So I suppose that means that you prefer bulldogs. So
yeah, and outside dogs for the most part. Yeah. But that comes from helping my dad lay carpet when I was a kid, changing out a lot of carpet that was a mess.
Yeah. Well, on that note, want to talk about and take us into your next story? Okay.
This is the one you mentioned in the bio. This is actually my first published fiction piece. This one's even shorter. This one is 200 words, and it was in this little thing called the mini anthology. And we had to look at that photo or that painting and write a story from that. And mine, I saw Cthulhu in a clown suit. And so this is a much lighter subject matter. As many H.P. Lovecraft references, I think, as you can squeeze into 200 words. So this is called Party Out of Space. The old one's bash started with a bang, a big one. The humans were fashionably late to the mixer, of course, but once it got started, I've never known how to pronounce that, rollicked and bass bumped out of the nameless city. Tentacles flapped, flippers flapped, and quivering masses were all a tremble while girls in flapper dresses and guys in dark suits did the Dagon disco and sipped primordial cocktails. Even the dread god Cthulhu got in the spirit, donning the white clown costume to boogie down. No one had seen him wear it for eons. A lull arrived with midnight, but a guy named Herb resurrected us with his enthusiasm and his homebrew. It looked like St. Patty's beer, but it had a zing like green lightning. Of course, the later it got, the more elixir flowed. Soon the ancient grudges reared their unholy heads, and it wasn't long before someone angrily spilled and ruined the fabric of the couch. Then they did the same to reality. Black holes appeared in the pastel wallpaper of the universe. I decided I'd had enough fun and called a cab. A mad Arab was driving. He quoted some strange book all the way home. I tipped accordingly. And that is that. That's the longest story in that book. And there's quite a few recognizable names in there. Christina Sing's in there. I forget who else, but people wrote poems. And it was interesting to see what people saw in that photo. I decided to just see how many times I could reference a Lovecraft story, including at the end squeezing the Necronomicon in there.
Well, I hope you gave Al-Hazred a 5 stars on I'm not sure I'd be brave enough to give anything less. So one of the things that I was curious about is, now that things have settled down a bit, how is how's the journalism industry being a little different now as to, well, this time last year and then this time the year before?
In Georgia, I mean this facetiously, of course, but in Georgia, the pandemic is over. We are able to monitor analytics these days and see what people click on. And within the past few weeks, they have quit caring entirely about where you can get a vaccine, where you have to wear a mask and all that kind of stuff. So we, of course, are still doing our journalism, our diligence and reporting the stuff that needs to be reported. But we're shifting our focus back to other things. And we actually had a staff meeting on a boat yesterday on Lake Lanier, which was nice. So we got together and brainstormed some stuff for what are we going to do differently now that this seems to be winding down.
Yeah, it's nice being able to do in-person meetings again.
It was great.
Yeah. At my day job, we had a cookout recently that was fantastic, and the last chapter meeting we met at a brewery on the west end of Atlanta. That was a fantastic to get to see some folks face to face again. And next month, we're going to go out. We're going to Woodstock next month. We're going to be supporting one of our fellow writers, Benji Carr, for his new novel Impacted, which is he's got a book event on, coincidentally, on the same day that our chapter meeting is. So looking forward to sharing a meal with everybody at Polito's, and then seeing Benji's book event, and then going and finishing up probably at Reformation and sharing a beer with y'all. So,
sounds like a big time.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Nate, for joining us. Thank you for sharing your stories with us.
I'm glad to do it. Just let everybody know it's called Drag You Down.
Yes.
It's available ebook and paperback in Amazon. I believe it's discounted right now, so you can probably get it for cheap. And my picture's reversed on my phone for some reason, so I don't know if this reads right or not, but always remember to leave a review.
Yes, always leave a review. I'm a big fan of always trying to say something about everything that I read, because the big guys that have hundreds of reviews don't need it, but you're independent. Once you get below about 100, and there's a lot of us out there. There's a lot of folks that deserve more than 100 reviews.
Yes.
Every single review helps. Every single bit of attention will help those metrics out. So, yes, leave a review. Thanks, Nate.
Very much. Thanks.
So our next reader is Kitty Sarkozy. Kitty is a speculative fiction writer, actor, and robot girlfriend. She is associate editor of Pseudopod, and which is an award-winning weekly horror podcast in the Escape Artist Network. Kitty is an alumnus of the Superstars Writing Seminar and member of David Farland's Apex Writer Group. Several large cats allow her to live with them in Marietta, Georgia. She enjoys tending the extensive gardens where she hides the bodies, completely separate from anything that Evie Knight may be doing. For a list of her publications, acting credits, or to engage her services on your next project, please go to kittysarkozy.com. So, Kitty, you've done a number of voice performances for Escape Artists. If somebody was going to listen to just one, which would you recommend?
Oh, that's hard. Maybe Ages of Man? That was my first one. Okay, if it was just one, it actually might not. Well, I don't know. That's hard. What do you think? You've listened to all of them.
Well, if it's just one, is it going to be When We Were Witches?
No. The intro, like, no. I really like the one I did for Cast of Wonders, the pop-up cafe story. I thought that one went really well, but I really love Ages of Man because it's about, robot torture porn, which is, kind of my thing. Oh, no, the Sean and Maguire story. Stay All Day. You Can Stay All Day. It's about zombies at the zoo, and that's just super fun. So if you could only listen to one story of mine as of right now, I would say You Can Stay All Day. But I have another story that I just finished yesterday that's going to be coming out in July that I think is going to be particularly good. It's about the fashion industry.
Awesome. So, what are you reading for us tonight?
So I am reading from a piece called Cicada Tales that's going to be in an upcoming anthology that is being done by us, by the Atlanta Horror Writers Association. So we're doing an anthology that's coming out in a couple months, and the theme of it is Georgia Ghosts, I believe.
Georgia Gothic.
Georgia Gothic. So it's all like Southern Gothic type stories that take place in Georgia. And so I'm going to be reading Cicada Tales. My cat just threw something. And it's kind of a true story. I have a whole collection of these that all start with real true things that happened to me. And then I just fudge it a little bit like everything else I do because I'm a compulsive liar.
All right. Well, over to you.
Okay, cool. Let me get this up. Okay. I'm going to start from the very beginning because that's a very good place to start. And hopefully I won't read too long. Cicada Tales. As the days get hotter, the evenings come alive. I'm going to move this over. Sorry. Okay. As the days get hotter, the evenings come alive. I am having technical difficulties. It made the Zoom go away whenever I started reading, and I have to be able to see it. Okay. I'm going to move this. I am so sorry. Okay, there we go. Okay. I remember sitting in an old lawn chair at sundown, listening to the cicadas sing. They really sing for only the most beautiful sunsets. They don't start with just one singer like crickets. No. The cicadas are a professional orchestra like you see on TV. Silly crickets have one brave soul who starts, and then the rest join in one by one out of familial obligation. The cicadas aren't like that. They know what they're there to do, and they do it. Like I said, they all start singing at once. The sound is beautiful. You almost want to close your eyes and sink into the sound. But you know better than to do that, don't you? You know by now to never drop your attention at one of those moments when the scene is shifting. Okay, just checking. Just checking. Anyway, those early summer sunsets were a show for all the senses. The sky, every color from bright yellow to dusty orange with splashes of pink thrown in to keep it fancy. The wind, soft and warm, sweet with honeysuckle, pine, and jessamine. I never could figure why the breeze, warm as that what comes off an oven, always made me shiver. But it did. Every time. I sat there, covered in goosebumps, listening to those cicadas. Sometimes bats, dogs, even a lone owl would join in. They always knew the tune. The night that comes on when the cicadas sing is special too. Those were the clearest nights with the brightest stars, the only sound that old hoot owl making sure you didn't fall asleep outside. But sometimes I would ignore him, drifting off as the air cooled down. Being outside was better than when I was a kid. Inside, the TV was too loud. Too many people would be talking or arguing. The air would be heavy and gray with cigarette smoke and ghosts. Inside, even on a school night, the noise would keep me up till well after midnight. I would lay in my bed wishing they would be quiet and go to sleep. But I knew better than to get up and say anything. At best, that just got harsh laughter, and then they'd get even louder. At worst was something else, regardless. If they were good people or bad people, or the sort of people who should raise children, ain't the story I'm telling right now. The story I'm going to tell is about the cicadas and what they brought. Sorry. Okay, now, I know you've been told that cicadas have some life cycle, 7 years or 13, that they're only active every few months, just during the time when they sing, and you find their empty shells on the porch. But that's not true. They're out there every evening when the sun goes down. They just don't always sing. How do you think Santa brings all those presents on Christmas Eve? You ain't never seen no reindeer in Perry, Georgia. You ever hear about fairies? How sometimes they come at night and steal things from normal folk? Tiny, pretty, little glittery things that fly in, laughing, full of mischief and malice. They might take a pie from off where it was cooling on a windowsill. They might take your homework right out of your book bag. They might steal anything from a little baby to a pack of cigarettes. Could be they are coming to take away someone who's done something they shouldn't have, or they might come to take back something that was theirs to begin with, but might have gotten misplaced. There are things from other places, terrifying things I hope you never cross paths with, that are setting their own balance rate. I can guarantee that, having encountered one such while going to college up in Macon. But it wasn't cute, sparkly thing. I don't know about you, but I've never seen a tiny little lady with a flower hat around here. However, I've seen a mess of cicadas. Cicadas are less for talking than they are for bringing. Less for taking than they are for bringing. If something turned up missing in our house, 9 times out of 10, you could blame it on one of my older siblings who always needed money to pay the devils that rode them. A deal with the devil is on an installment and higher interest than the title pawn. You always come up short on that last payment. Every time. Now, I should tell you, I wasn't born here. I was born far, far away in a cold, dark place, up where trolls lurk in haunted woods and snow-white deer could be found in magical glades. It was a place of sharp, shining icicles, greedy wolfhounds with a grudge to settle, and black snakes that moved faster than you could see. It was a lonely place where you could hear bears crying from sorrow, and the shiver wasn't from a warm breeze. Mama stole me away when I was young. I only remember it in dreams and the stories she told. Did I ever tell you about the ice-cold water that ran down rainbow-colored rocks? No? Well, there was this place deep in the woods. Wait, now look at me getting off track. You let me know if I do that again, you hear? So, as I was saying, I came here as a small child. Georgia is the only home I've ever known. I know its stories and its secrets better than most. You ever spent much time with chickens? We had some on our little farm outside Perry, a place called Kathleen, so small you couldn't find it on a map. If you had chickens, you know they ain't smart. You pick one up, get it liking you today, but it can't remember who you are tomorrow. It will peck a freckle on your arm 4 times and still not know you ain't food. So, how do you think they're smart enough to make eggs? Exactly, they ain't. Not without somebody giving away the secret first. Did you know a young hen always lays its first eggs after the cicadas sing in May or June? The song comes just as the ladies are heading to roost. They go to sleep, hearing the song, and then they dream the right dreams. Next day, they lay an egg. Let me tell you, those girls are surprised when that happens. It would be like dreaming you could fly and waking up next morning to find yourself floating above the covers. Every time your mama makes you eggs with grits, you have a cicada to thank. It's just my opinion, but I think cicadas mostly want to sing and make the world a little better. Maybe they feel guilty about how they go in a feeding frenzy sometimes, and maybe they feel bad about scaring folks. When I was a little girl, the cicadas sometimes brought us things. There are lots of little holidays that can't be marked on the calendar. I would wake up in the morning to find that the cicadas had come at night. That's about 7 minutes. That's probably where I should stop. Is that where I should stop? Yeah.
That's a good spot.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yeah, just a little bit of a tease to get people to make sure that they check it out when this anthology comes out later this year.
It's gonna be a great anthology.
Make sure to do something a little special when we've got everything put together and we've got some art to reveal to folks. And it's going to be a whole bunch of shouting about it. So, what other things have you? I know you had a publication earlier this year. I believe you read something.
I did. I had this come out in February. This is Hold Your Fire. It's from Wordfire Press, which is Kevin Anderson's imprint. So I read Dream Girl out of here, which is one of my favorite stories I've ever written. It's sort of autobiographical. Well, all my stories are sort of autobiographical. I might be a narcissist. So I have that, and what do I have going on? I've done a couple of submissions recently. I haven't heard back from them. Well, I heard back from one
It's
that got
important
rejected. It's okay.
to get out there. If you don't submit, you're guaranteed to be rejected. So, yeah. Yeah, if you submit, there's also a really good chance you'll be rejected. But
also true. But it's something to do.
Where, most submission rates are, 95% rejections.
Yeah.
There's a lot of competition out there, a lot of tough fighting to make it up to the top of the pile. But you gotta get out there and submit.
Yep, it really is. There's a lot of competition. It's not like, localized. You can't kill them to get them out of the way because they could be anywhere in the country. And I don't have that kind of frequent flyer miles.
Yeah. So. And there's only so much room in the backyard.
That's true. Or under the house. I got to clean up under there.
So it's clear that you are a cat person. Yeah.
Yes.
Your cat. Yeah, at least one of them is trying to mess up your recording. Yeah, which of all of your favorite children do you like to tell stories about the most?
Probably Cheeseburger. I talk about Cheeseburger a lot because he's pretty weird. Actually, no. If I'm talking about which one I've told the most stories about, it's Mookie, who's no longer with us. I have a tattoo of her though. Want to see it? It's like right here. And if it came in close enough, you could see the little bits of blood dripping off her claws. She was batshit bananas. She had like the cat version of like schizophrenia and just, yeah, that was a problem. But I love her. And if you ever come over, you can say hi to her. I have her bones in the living room.
That's good to know. Yeah. Hopefully. No, I'm not going to ask you who else's bones are in the living room. Better to not have that be recorded.
That's a good point. Definitely a good point.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kitty, for joining us tonight. Appreciate you sharing that taste of your story with us.
Yeah, no problem. Bye.
Our final reader tonight is Jeannie Koch. Jeannie writes the fast, fresh, and funny Alien Catherine Kitty Cat series for DAW Books, and under pen name Anita Insall, J.G. Koch, A.E. Stanton, and Gemma Chase. She writes a whole lot more in all the genres out there and in lengths all imaginable. So Jeannie is scared by horror stories, but as J.C. Koch writes them anyway. In addition to writing about scary things, she also likes to do scary things like pay attention to politics, keeping up with the Kardashians, and play the stock market. With hobbies like those, though, she tends to stay hidden under the bed, letting more of the terrors of the mind bleed onto the page, both metaphorically and literally. Due to this, and the plot bunnies hiding there with her, she has scary stories published in a variety of fine e-zines and anthologies, making the terror somewhat worth it. Jeannie is the past president of the Atlanta chapter of HWA. So I know one of the things that we need to talk about for sure is you have, in one of those fine anthologies mentioned, you have a story coming out next month, Saving Sally Ruth, in the anthology Derelict. Do you have an advanced reader copy or something you can? Yeah.
I do. I'm reading from Derelict this month, and that's from publisher Small Press Zombies Needs Brains. And I'm not reading the whole story, but I'm reading part of the story. And because unlike Nate, I have two 600-word shorts, one 250-word short, and that's it. So brevity is not my soul of wit. So So yes, so I have, I'll be reading from Derelict, which is the Nightmare of the Month this month. So thank you guys for doing that. And it's going to be a really great anthology. So I expect everybody to love it. And you can still pre-order it either from the Zombie Needs Brains website or on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, et cetera, where all the fine books are sold. So,
Want to tell us a little bit about the anthology before you take us into your story?
absolutely. I actually want to say something before I forget about it too. Traditionally published authors, such as myself, I am both traditional Big Five, traditional small, and self-published. And everybody other than Neil Gaiman and Stephen King really desperately need your reviews. Nora Roberts might even need a review, okay? But anyone who's not a household name needs your reviews. Don't think we have enough. We don't. Nobody does. And those of us who you think, oh, they're established, yeah, that's great. Book 16 could use as much love as book 1 got from a review standpoint. So please and thank you on that. So Derelict is basically, the title kind of tells you exactly what it is. It is about derelicts. I don't know how many other people went for the ghost ship motif that I did, but I think probably a lot of us, because it's fun. Mine is set in space, as is so frequent. Mine is part of what I have several stories coming up in a variety of anthologies. Gunfight on Europa Station releases in November. That's coming from Baen. The Reinvented Heart is coming in February, and I forget who the publisher is, and I'm very sorry. It isn't a publisher. I think it's Arc Manor, but I'm not certain. It's not a publisher I've worked with before, so it's new. I've worked with the editors of the anthology, but not the publisher. And then Derelict, and all of these have stories written by me as Anita Ensall, and they're all set in what I consider my Belters universe. But the way I have that universe set up, every story is, even though you can tie them together, every story is a standalone with the standalone characters. So I was really excited to get to do that because I love that universe. The first story I wrote in it, I wrote in 2011. And it was in Love and Rockets, an anthology from Daw. And I wrote it, and I'm like, I want to do more in this. And it only took, a decade to get those more written. So for those people wondering why I'm not done with aliens like us yet, hey, sometimes I'm fast and sometimes I'm not. So, but it's been really great to get to write in this universe. It's a universe I've been in love with this universe since I wrote Wanted. And so getting to have this opportunity to write not only short stories in it, but each one is distinctly different. Wanted is science fiction romance. My story for the Reinvented Heart, Go Where the Heart Takes You, is romantic, but it's really more about the bonds of family and how you create them. Gunfight on Europa Station is pirates are attacking the miners, and the Galactic Police have to come and save the day. And Saving Sally Ruth is a ghost story. So it's fun to get to do all that.
Awesome. Well, it's 2020 was good for something if it shook this loose after a decade.
Yes.
So why don't you take us away with Saving Sally Ruth?
Okay, super. Thank you. Tell me another story, Grandpa. Which one shall it be tonight, Johnny? The ghost ship. Johnny loved this story. It was spooky and fun, and even at 5, he knew it wasn't really real. Ah, that one again. Well, there were 2 ghost ships, one that sailed the seas of old Earth, called the Flying Dutchman, and one that powers the system even today. Poor doomed through. What happened to her? Johnny asked. The Flying Dutchman was a fun story, but Johnny had never been to Earth, even though his family was Earth. Grandpa had that planet when he was only a bit than Johnny was now, and while they occasionally available on Palace or Ceres stations, they were Belters, and that meant they spent most of their time in the blackness, the space between the moons, the asteroids of the belt, the planets, and jolly old Sol. This made the story of the Sally Ruth far more interesting. After all, Johnny might see the Sally Ruth one day, even though she and her story were hundreds of years old. Cursed she was, Grandpa said gravely. Captained by a man tall, strong, and true. He married his love and named his ship after her, but she was untrue, and with his first mate, no less. In his torment, the captain, Madishon Vanjans, tried to throw himself into the blackness, but the crew wouldn't allow it. However, Vanjans vowed to never return to any planet's port until Sally Ruth would spurn her lover and return his love fully. The crew supported him and tried to help him in his torment. Sally Ruth and her lover, Robert Himmel, were locked in the brig, kept apart from each other. The captain and crew tried to reason with them, but they never renounced each other or their evil union. The Sally Ruth never made port and, to this day, sails to the blackness, waiting for that evil woman to repent of her sin against a noble man. What happens to the people who find them? Johnny asked, as was expected for this part of the tale. Ah, Grandpa said, the evil of the Sally Ruth engulfs and destroys those who dare to get too close. It's said that if you see that terrible ghost ship, you should leap to warp and pray you arrive at your destination alive. Those few brave or foolish enough to dock with the Sally Ruth have never been heard from again, just the debris of their ships found floating in the blackness, testimony to the power of an evil woman's breaking of a good man's heart. It's always the woman's fault somehow in all these old stories, Johnny's mother muttered as she came into his cabin to tuck him in and shoo Grandpa out. She stroked Johnny's hair. Stories are told by the survivors, John dear, and you must remember that a story may sound interesting and wonderful and yet not be true at all. You keep an open mind no matter what a story may have told you to think. I promise, Mama. 20 Earth Standard Years later. Galactic Police Cruiser 8030 sailed through the blackness. They'd left Karen Prison 3 weeks ago, heading back to GP headquarters in the Belt. Security Officer John Petter gazed out at the blackness and thought of his family. He'd see them soon now. Well, soon was a relative term. They weren't heading at warp city of reasons, so their arrival was probably at least several weeks away. But it was sooner than he'd been expecting. Prison duty was normally dull and distressing. You flew around Charon and Pluto, waiting for the worst to happen, which it rarely did, hoping you had enough reading matter to stay sane and trying not to hate the people you were stuck in the blackness with while doing nothing. Most crews couldn't handle it for too long, so Charon duty was usually no more than 3 Earth months. The 8030 was different. They'd been out for 8 months so far, and none of them had asked to leave, but they'd been given an assignment to handle on the way back to GP headquarters in the Belt, which is why they'd cut short their planned year-long tour. That had only been possible because his cruiser was filled with, as Security Officer Brad Jensen liked to say, loners who preferred the blackness to other people. John didn't feel that way, but he had no issues being in the blackness. He'd grown up on a family mining ship in the Belt, so the blackness was home, whatever part of it he happened to be in. The others felt the same way. All 8,000 series GP ships had a complement of 8 officers on board, double the number of a standard cruiser. The ships would never need to sleep when they were far from a planet, lunar, suspended city, or space station. Everyone who lived in the Belt or in the blackness ran on Earth Standard, so half the crew slept in the day and half the crew at night. John was on day duty, though they were so far from Sol or any of the planets right now that it was only human stubbornness that kept them time adjusted. John was pulled out of his contemplations by an alert. He verified what he was seeing. Coming up on the remains of what looks like several ships. Remains, Petter? Lissa Gunnels was the GP officer in charge. She was normally hard to surprise, but based on her tone and expression, this had done it. Per the system charts, there should be nothing here, James Connison, their navigator, said. Just the blackness. Scan for Bozer Geist in any part of his pirate armada, Lissa ordered. No signs of any ships other than ours, John said. Systems don't show any indications of other ships being in the vicinity recently either. Could have been comets, Communications Officer Kathy Schreiber said, but without conviction. Agreed, Lissa said, but since none are in evidence, but ship's debris is, we need to start scans immediately. On it, John said, as he magnified what his sensors had picked up and put it onto the view screen so they could all see what was ahead of them. The pieces seem to be staying together, even though they're broken apart, James said. I mean, I can tell these were ships, and I think I can almost make out the design of each of them. My systems have made them out, and I'm sending schematics to Ceres, Maine, Kathy said. I'm also running a search on any ships reported late or who haven't checked in throughout the system. It's likely going to take some time before I have potential candidates. Looks like a merchant convoy, Alyssa said slowly. Those ship parts don't look like GP or mining vessel remnants. And I see what appears to be at least 3 ships, so I think it's safe to assume they were traveling together. But what's a convoy doing way out here? And why weren't we notified to look for it? Kathy added. John enhanced the view again. What I can see looks new. I can't spot registration numbers, though. We need to investigate, Alyssa said. No one argued. She activated all the ship's spotlights and navigated toward the wreckage while the rest of them remained alert. Based on how it appears these ships were hit, I'd think the wreckage would be more scattered. Something about this bothered John more than just finding destroyed ships, but he couldn't pinpoint what it was. I'm scanning for anything that would be holding the debris in place. Huh, Alyssa asked. It's not a force field or similar, but there's some kind of substance around the wreckage. It's invisible to the human eye, but my security systems are picking it up. We want to be very careful not to bump into it, Captain. Noted, reducing power to impulse, warp coordinates set for Ceres, Maine, just in case. This was standard operating procedure, but they'd never needed to enact it before. Should we wake up the night crew? John asked as they floated closer. Alyssa was quiet for a moment. Yes, Petter, good call. Just in case, let's have everyone ready. John hurried to quarters, awakened the others, and headed back to the cockpit. Did I miss anything? No, Kathy replied, but all systems now indicate that something's around the debris, not just securities. Something new showed up on John's screen as the night crew joined them. Wait, I think I see an intact ship in the distance. There was a blue glow around this ship, making it easier for his instruments to pick up and, therefore, for them to see. John split the view screens so they could see the wreckage and avoid it, as well as this new ship. Why are we just seeing it now? Alyssa asked. Did it just come out of warp? There are no signatures that would suggest it. No, James replied. It's an old ship based on an old design, John said, as worry settled into his gut. From the start of expansion old. That's impossible, Alyssa said. There are no ships from that time still flying. The few that still exist are floating around in Jupiter's Living History Museum, and that's carefully guarded to prevent loss or damage. It's not impossible, John said quietly, not if it's the Sally Ruth. The crew were quiet for a few long moments. James broke the silence. We need to get out of here. That's a myth, Alyssa said firmly, and our jobs require that we search for survivors. That so-called myth says we'll end up like these ships if we don't get away from here right now, James countered. I have what might be confirmation of the 3 ships we have here, Kathy said. Ceres, Maine is not certain, but we have reports of new attacks by Bozergeist and several of his pirate ships. There is nothing the pirates have that could do this, Brad said from behind John, not destroy the ships and keep them held together as they are. That may be, Kathy said, but these 3 appear to match a merchant convoy that was attacked and overtaken around Saturn several months ago. What happened to their crews? Alyssa asked. What always happens, Kathy replied tersely. The pirates gave them a choice to join up or die. We only know about it because the convoy's response was to use their escape shuttles. Not all of them survived, but 4 shuttles managed to make it to Saturn and get GP protection. The pirates took the ships. Why would pirates come out here? Alyssa asked. There's nothing in this area unless a random comet's flying through. Maybe they came out here to hide, Kathy suggested. There are rumors of a pirate stronghold we haven't been able to find, Jean Marie Ward, Kathy's night shift counterpart, said. Maybe it's out here. There's nothing out here, James said, other than this wreckage and what we all need to admit is the Sally Ruth. The ship was moving toward them. They still had time to get away, but determining what had happened to the 3 ships was important, and John knew it. While they couldn't save whoever had been on these ships, they had a duty to stop this from happening to anyone else. John thought about the stories his grandfather had always told him. Maybe these ships were lured away. They saw something and followed. It's possible, Alyssa said, but we need to determine if the ship that just showed up is part of the problem. As she said this, they all heard the distress signal. The signal is definitely coming from the ship that just appeared, Kathy said. Orders? We are galactic police, Lissa said, voices even as Kathy's. We respond per GP protocol. This is Galactic Police Vessel 8030. Please explain the nature of your emergency. Kathy repeated the hail several times. There was no reply, but the distress signal didn't cease. She turned the volume down. Now what? Now, Lissa said, we avoid the wreckage of these other ships and we do what we've trained to do. We assist those in need. Are we certain the hail is real? Dean Hodos, the night shift navigator, asked as they headed toward the ship. That ship could just have a self-charging distress signal. They weren't unheard of during expansion. If that's the case, then we'll go over and claim the find of the century, Ken Catano, the officer in charge for night shift, said cheerfully. Either we're helping out or we're heroes. I'm good with those outcomes. Are we close enough to spot call letters at least? Jean Marie asked. Not at this angle, Kathy replied. We're past the wreckage, Lissa said as she sped them up. I'll maneuver us so we can circle around it. Enhancing security's exterior view, Kathy said. They all saw it. The call numbers and the name. John knew this because everyone, Lissa included, drew in their breath. It's E2020, James's voice shook. And the name is what we all knew it would be, Sally Ruth. And that's all you get.
Outstanding. If you want more, you can go pre-order. Available
Derelict.
on the 15th.
Yes.
Outstanding. Yeah, there's something particularly compelling about a ghost ship.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're great. I love ghost ship stuff, even though, no lie, most of it scares me, unless I'm writing it myself.
Well, what are some of your favorite ghost ship stories?
Well, I like what Disney did with Pirates of the Caribbean. That's really about ghosts and zombies and ghost ships, and I really like how they did it so it's not frightening to me. I'm all for the Disney version of all of that. And then just really you asked me this, and just so anybody knows, Alex has not told us what he's asking us, so we're not prepared, as you could probably tell from at least me and Kitty and probably Nate too. The only other ghost ship I can think of right now is Dracula 3000, and that was awful. Okay, it was terrible. I'm like, well, I've got Dracula 3000 and Pirates of the Caribbean, and I'm done. Okay, that's all I got.
Dracula 3000 it's at least memorable. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can't get it out of I can't forget it as hard as I've tried. I cannot forget that movie.
Yeah.
So,
I know that in like 20 minutes you're gonna go, oh, that one. And
I write this a lot. I have in my collection, The Disciple and Other Stories of the Paranormal. Me writing is Gemma Chase. I have another kind of ghost ship story in Waiting, and so it's a theme I really like. I like the ghostly ship. I like it's very frightening. It's the Pandora's box experience. Are you gonna go in, and when you do go in, do you find lavish riches, or have you just destroyed your crew and humanity? Yeah. I mean, essentially Alien is a monster story, but it's a ghost ship story. It's got all of those things in it. So I had to watch Alien, actually all the Alien movies, like 10 years after they were out. I could handle most of it, though I had a death grip on my husband's hand for the first two. But yeah, it's sad. It's very embarrassing. Great big grown-up girl scared by all this stuff. I believe it. That's why. I think it's all real. I absolutely believe it. That's why it's like I'm very, very careful. Like, because obviously tons of friends in horror. And when I'm reading something of theirs, I mean, I'll buy everybody's books. I won't necessarily crack a spine, okay? Because I'll sneak up on it and say, so where'd you get the idea? And at the answer is like, oh, I was standing here and I thought, oh my God, this would be such a great setting. And then I can read that because I know it's all fake. If, however, someone said, well, I was walking through the woods and this strange thing happened to me, I'm like, ah! Can't do it, run away. So yeah, I'm not good with that. I can read all the funny. I cannot read the scary. So like I said, I believe it 100%. I even believed Dracula 3000, and that was like pushing it, but I can believe somewhere out there Dracula could find a way to, and somehow there's still a Van Helsing out there in the form of Casper Van Dien, who is very pretty. And he was the highlight of that movie for being pretty. That was it. That's all I got.
Yeah.
I like
Sometimes that's what it takes to redeem something.
to soldier through. Yeah.
So what do you have coming up this weekend?
This weekend, I am at LibertyCon, and it is my first LibertyCon. I'm very excited. It's virtual this year. Next year, it'll be live again, but it's virtual this year. So you can find it at libertycon.org. And you want to because it's free this year. And the guest of honor is Patricia Briggs.
Nice.
And the master of ceremonies is Shauna McGuire. I really think y'all need to show up.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's going to be really cool. I'm very excited. I'm in because of Gunfight on Europa Station, which I mentioned earlier. We did a panel for them for the anthology panel, and they just were like, so, and you're our newbies, who can be on the newbie panel? We're like, what? Her? Right? Wait, we part of con? So that was really nice. They were really welcoming. And I'm doing a reading tomorrow night at 9. And I get to read for, wait for it, an hour, God help us all. And so I'm really encouraging people to show up and come hang out with me. Please don't make me read for an hour. I will if y'all make me, but I'll just hang out and talk, writing tips, anecdotes, whatever you need. But I mean, I can read for an hour. I certainly have enough material. I had to figure out how many titles I had for LibertyCon. I'm just under 70. Because I count anything I have an anthology, a short story, and because I will resell them. And yeah, so I got plenty of stuff to read. I just don't really want to read for an hour, but I will if y'all make me. So, but it's going to be fun.
That's a lot of water.
It's a lot of water. Yeah, it's like, this will have to be refilled multiple times. So yeah, but I think I'm really looking forward to it. So I'm on 2 panels. I've got a reading. I'll be at opening ceremonies. I'll be hanging around, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be very cool. They have a ton of authors. And also for those who have never done it before, they normally cap attendees at 1,500. And on a virtual, anybody can show up con, there's no caps. So you have a really great opportunity to interact with a lot of your old and new favorites while, and it doesn't cost you anything but some time. So,
yeah. And
raw to LibertyCon.
1,500 sounds like a nice, comfortable, intimate number. So
yeah, well, I go to San Diego Comic-Con every year. It happens, right? So I have since 2010. And so I'm used to, 150,000 inside and 1 million of your closest friends and neighbors on the street. Right. So anything smaller than that seems small and intimate, right? But that is a really nice size. The other authors who have participated that were on our panels, who had done it before, we're like, oh, it's so much fun, you're gonna love it, it's really great. And they were really, like I said, it's a really welcoming group. And speaking of welcoming groups, and I don't want to forget this, Multiverse will be live this year in October, we're pretty sure, and I am a guest there, and their virtual con last year was wonderful. It felt like being at a real con. So I can't wait to get to meet everybody that I met for the first time online in person, and that is the teen weekend in October. And I don't wait a minute, I guess I could look at a calendar because I have one under my hands, the 15th to the 17th.
Okay.
So yeah, and the cost of entry is not high, and it's going to be really great, and that's at the Westin Perimeter North in Atlanta. So I really encourage people to come to that because I think it's going to be really great.
Yeah, so, for those of you navigating around Atlanta, it's about 12 o'clock, like 12:05. There's the King and Queen building. It's right next to that.
Thank you, because I didn't know where it was. So that's very helpful. Thank you.
It's in the shadow of the King and Queen building.
Yeah, I'm going to take a room. I live without traffic, I live 30 minutes away. I'll be taking a room. Yes. So I'll be staying at the hotel. I learned that a long time ago. If it's more than a 5-minute drive with no traffic, you want to stay at the hotel. So
totally worth it. And, can make short excursions out because there's a ton of great places to eat.
Yes.
And
Yeah, and I'm very proud to say our chapter is representing very nicely. We've got a lot of chapter folk that are guests, so go team. So.
yes, yeah, that one's going to be a lot of fun. I went to the first year, and it was fantastically run. The people really had their game together.
Yeah.
And it was very open and welcoming and inclusive. So
yes, it's a very warm crowd. Very nice, very supportive, very kind, and it was very fun. I didn't know what to expect with a con all online, and it was great. It was like being there. So I think that to me that's the highest compliment you can give a virtual con, is that it felt like I was there. And I have high hopes for LibertyCon because they're set up in a very similar fashion. So I think this weekend, show up, you guys. It'll be fun. So, and show up at Multiverse because it'll also be fun.
yes. Well, do you have any final words before we come to a close? Any last books that you would like to make sure that people are aware of?
Go to my website, www.ginnykoch.com. Go to my bookstore and hit the bibliography page. My website's getting updated and we're behind because 2020 happened. So it's about 75% accurate right there, and you can find everything you need to get started on the wonder that is me. And then for any people in the greater Atlanta area and surrounding states, if you are an author, an aspiring author, you really should be looking at our chapter to join, because it's a very good chapter. We do a lot of cool things, and you get to hang out with like-minded crazy people. It's fun.
Yeah. We, especially Kitty, may or may not help you bury bodies in your backyard. So.
See, the whole thing, the key, and I know we've all seen this meme, but I think it was a brilliant one. If you're burying a body somewhere near your yard, you need to plant an endangered species. For Arizonans, where I lived before Georgia, that would be plant a saguaro. Plant the national tree, the state tree, flower, bush, whatever it is, because that's protected. California, plant some California poppies. They can't touch it. I was like, this is a new lease on life for me.
And, we've got a lot of good horticulturalists in our organization.
That's right. Yes. So we can help you figure out how your characters should bury bodies. It's your characters. Precisely. We're not talking real life. So yeah, we are, but not really. I don't think we've killed anybody in weeks, possibly months, Oh, wait, I killed people in the last thing I wrote. So, yeah, sorry, already out. That is one of the beauties of writing. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was fun to be here.
Awesome. Well, that brings our event to a close. The Southern Nightmares reading series will be a monthly online event presented by the HWA Atlanta Chapter, spotlighting Horror Writers Association members from the Atlanta Chapter and around the world. Please join us again in July for another reading series. Evie Knight will be done digging holes in her backyard, and she's going to be talking a little bit about something that brought a little haunted house home. And then we will also be showcasing Benji Carr's new novel. So please join us for next month. Until then, honor Halloween in your heart and try and keep it all the year.